What if you woke up tomorrow and your dollars were worthless? Banks locked, cards declined, shelves empty. In that moment, money means nothing, but food, water, and fuel become gold. It's not about wealth anymore. It's about survival and trade. FEMA warns every American to have at least 2 weeks of supplies, yet most don't. When crisis hits, the unprepared panic while the prepared thrive. In this video, I'll reveal 11 everyday items that'll be worth more than gold when the system collapses. Stay till the end. Number 11 is the real game changer. 1. Clean water and filtration systems. When disaster hits, forget about gold or silver. Clean water becomes the real currency of survival. You can go 3 weeks without food, but only about 3 days without water. According to FEMA and the CDC, every American should store at least 1 gallon of water per person, per day, yet surveys show less than half of households actually do. Think back to the Texas freeze of 2021. Millions of residents lost both power and running water. In cities like Austin and Houston, bottled water prices jumped more than 900% overnight, and store shelves were stripped bare in hours. The same story repeated during the 2024 Midwest ice storms, where frozen pipes and infrastructure failures left entire communities scrambling for anything drinkable. That's why having a water filtration system isn't optional anymore. It's essential. A Life Straw or Sawyer mini filter can remove bacteria, protozoa, and microplastics from almost any natural water source. Lakes, rivers, even melted snow. The Sawyer Mini can filter up to 100,000 gallons before replacement, and it weighs less than a cell phone. That's peace of mind you can carry in your pocket. Now imagine this. A deep freeze cuts off your town's water supply. Pipes burst, and neighbors start lining up at frozen hydrants. But you've got a few stored gallons and a small filtration kit. You can drink safely, trade clean water for food or batteries, and help others without risking sickness. Because when the taps run dry and the shelves go empty, you can't drink money, but clean water can save your life. 2. Food with long shelf life. When shelves go empty, food doesn't just feed you, it becomes currency. Think about it. After a major storm or power outage, what disappears first? Food. It's always food. During the 2024 Midwest blizzard, FEMA reported grocery store inventories dropped by nearly 70% in less than 48 hours. Panic buying cleared out everything from canned beans to rice, and supply trucks couldn't get through icy highways for nearly a week. Now, imagine a real collapse. Not just a storm, but a long-term breakdown where resupply stops. Suddenly, those dusty cans in your pantry could be worth more than gold. Freeze-dried meals that last 25 years? They'd trade like silver bars. One number 10 can of freeze-dried beef, which sells for around $60 today, could easily be worth hundreds when there's no meat left in stores. According to USDA data, U.S. food prices have risen over 25% since 2020, and droughts across key farming states continue to strain production. Experts from the World Food Program warn that supply disruptions can double local food costs in less than 2 weeks during regional crises. You don't need to be a prepper to see what's coming. All it takes is one more global shock to send grocery prices skyrocketing again. So ask yourself, when the trucks stop running and your neighbor's pantry runs dry, what's going to hold more value? A gold coin or a can of chili that keeps your family alive? 3. Fuel and propane. When the lights go out and the gas pumps run dry, fuel turns into power, literally. You can't heat your home, cook a meal, or move a vehicle without it. During the 2024 Midwest blackout, when over 2.5 million homes lost power across Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, local reports describe people bartering gas for food, water, even baby formula. It wasn't about luxury, it was survival. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the average American household relies on fossil fuels for over 80% of heating and transportation needs. When that supply chain stops, whether from a cyber attack, grid failure, or fuel shortage, propane tanks, diesel, and even old gasoline cans suddenly become more valuable than cash. FEMA has repeatedly warned that fuel shortages often follow disasters within 48 hours as distribution networks collapse and panic buying kicks in. Think back to 2021, when the Colonial Pipeline cyber attack shut down nearly half of the East Coast's fuel supply. Lines stretched for miles, and people filled trash bags with gasoline. Prices jumped 10% overnight, And that was just one pipeline for a few days. Now imagine that kind of shortage lasting months. A few gallons of diesel could run a generator, keep food cold, or power a small farm. In a grid-down world, that's not just convenience, that's survival. So while gold shines, fuel burns, and when everything collapses, the one who holds the flame holds the power. 4. Medical supplies and first aid kits. When systems collapse, the first thing you lose isn't power, it's help. Imagine an injury deep in the night, no hospitals, no pharmacies, no 911 to call, just silence. That's why FEMA and the American Red Cross both stress one critical truth. In a major disaster, emergency medical services might be days away, if they come at all. According to FEMA's 2024 National Preparedness Report, nearly 60% of U.S. households don't have even a basic first aid kit. And during crises like hurricanes or grid failures, the Department of Health and Human Services estimates that medical response times can stretch from the usual 10 minutes to over 12 hours, or longer in rural areas. Those hours can mean the difference between a minor cut and a deadly infection. Think back to the winter storm that froze Texas in 2021. Hospitals ran out of supplies, pharmacies closed, and people couldn't access life-saving medications. The same story repeated in Maui's 2023 wildfires and the 2024 California floods. In every one of those events, antibiotics, antiseptics, and pain relievers became rare and priceless. It's not hard to imagine how valuable they'd be if supply chains truly broke down. A single bottle of antibiotics could save a child from an infected wound. A few rolls of gauze could keep someone alive until help arrives. And when hospitals are dark and shelves are empty, people will trade anything, food, fuel, even gold, for that chance at survival. So start small. Build your own crisis kit. Stock adhesive bandages, medical tape, antiseptic wipes, painkillers, burn gel, and if possible, prescription backups. Add gloves, a tourniquet, and a trauma kit if you can. The Red Cross recommends at least a 2-week supply of essential medications. Because when the system fails, the most valuable thing isn't money. It's the ability to care for yourself and the people you love. In a world where every second counts and help isn't coming, your medical kit could be the one thing standing between life and loss. 5. Batteries and power banks. When the lights go out, the real currency isn't gold, it's power. In a world without electricity, every bit of stored energy becomes survival itself. Think about it. A charged flashlight can mean safety in the dark, a working radio can deliver life-saving updates, and a power bank can keep your phone alive long enough to reach help. Once the grid goes down, those things aren't luxuries. They're lifelines. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the average American household experiences around 8 hours of power outages per year. But during major blackouts, like the 2024 Midwest grid failure, some areas went dark for up to 5 days. FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security have both warned that extended blackouts could become more common due to aging infrastructure, cyber threats, and extreme weather. Just one severe geomagnetic storm, like the one NOAA warned about in early 2025, could wipe out large portions of the grid for weeks. During events like that, people will pay anything for a working battery or power source. Portable solar power banks, rechargeable AA batteries, and compact generators have already become staples in emergency kits, recommended by FEMA and ready.gov. In fact, sales of portable solar generators jumped over 35% in 2024, according to Statista, proof that more Americans are realizing how fragile our power systems really are. Picture this: a neighborhood plunged into darkness. No phones, no lights, no communication. You're the only one with a working lantern and a radio tuned into local emergency updates. Suddenly, you're the one with control, the one with power, literally and figuratively. That's why now is the time to stock up. Keep lithium batteries sealed in airtight containers. Invest in solar chargers that can revive your phone or flashlights even on cloudy days. And don't forget extra cables, adapters, and hand crank options. Low-tech backups that can outlast the chaos. Because in the next major blackout, when everyone else is fumbling in the dark, the person who can turn on a light instantly becomes the most powerful one around. 6. Ammunition and self-defense tools. It's not about fear, it's about survival. When systems break down and police response times stretch from minutes to hours, Self-defense stops being a political issue and becomes a personal one. In a real collapse, you're not defending property, you're defending your family, your supplies, and your safety. History has shown this again and again. After Hurricane Katrina, reports from FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security confirmed widespread breakdowns in local law enforcement. Many neighborhoods had to rely on their own means of protection for days before help arrived. During the 2020 civil unrest across several U.S. cities, ammunition shortages swept the country. By 2024, Statista reported that ammunition prices were up nearly 40% from pre-pandemic levels, and popular calibers were selling out within hours of restocks. That's not panic buying. That's preparedness becoming mainstream. 7. Hygiene products. If the last few years have taught us anything, it's that hygiene isn't a luxury, it's survival. Think back to early 2020. Shelves stripped bare, people fighting over toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and soap like it was gold. And that was during a pandemic when supply chains were still functioning. Now imagine the same panic, but with no trucks rolling, no restocks coming, and no end in sight. The CDC has repeatedly warned that poor sanitation after disasters leads to secondary health crises, everything from respiratory infections to gastrointestinal diseases. After Hurricane Harvey in 2017, and again during the 2023 East Coast floods, FEMA reported spikes in waterborne illnesses caused by contaminated water and lack of basic hygiene supplies. In a collapse, one bar of soap could prevent a chain reaction of illness that takes out entire households. Hygiene products also become powerful trade goods. According to a 2024 Statista Consumer Behavior Report, over 70% of Americans admit they panic buy hygiene items when emergencies hit. That's because people realize, too late, that staying clean is directly tied to staying alive. Soap, toothpaste, razors, and especially toilet paper become priceless when there's no way to replace them. During the pandemic, some small-town stores in the Midwest were trading a single roll of toilet paper for food or fuel. It sounds absurd until it happens again, and it will happen again. FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security both emphasize that hygiene and sanitation are key pillars of emergency preparedness. It's not just about comfort. It's about preventing disease, maintaining morale, and preserving your humanity when the world feels anything but human. So, stock up now. Keep a few months' worth of soap, toothpaste, toilet paper, feminine hygiene products, and disinfectants stored safely away. Because when the grid goes dark and clean water becomes scarce, these everyday items won't just keep you clean, they'll keep you alive. 8. Fire starters and lighters. When the power's out and the cold creeps in, fire becomes more than just warmth. It's survival. You can have all the food, water, and blankets in the world, but without a way to make fire, your chances drop fast. FEMA and the National Weather Service both warn that hypothermia can set in within hours when temperatures dip below freezing, especially for older adults and children. In the 2024 Arctic blast that hit parts of the Midwest, thousands of homes went days without power. For many, the only thing standing between comfort and catastrophe was their ability to start a fire. Think about what a single lighter can do. It can cook a meal when your stove is useless. It can boil water to make it safe to drink. It can provide light when darkness becomes your enemy. And in emergencies, a small flame can even sterilize tools or wounds. That's why preppers and survival experts, including FEMA and the Red Cross, recommend keeping multiple fire sources, waterproof matches, Bic lighters, magnesium strikers, and even fire-starting sticks. Because redundancy is safety. During past blackouts, people have traded incredible things for just one working lighter: food, blankets, even medicine. Why? Because in freezing temperatures, fire means life. According to a 2024 Department of Energy report, more than 5 million U.S. households faced extended outages lasting over 24 hours due to winter storms, a 30% increase from the year before. Each of those homes suddenly realized how fragile modern convenience really is. Here's the thing. Fire-starting tools are cheap now, but priceless later. A single Bic lighter costs $1 today. In a grid-down collapse, it could be worth more than gold. So store them in every bug-out bag, car, and emergency kit. Keep waterproof matches in sealed containers. Learn how to use a ferro rod before you need it. Because when the night turns cold and the world goes silent, the crackle of a fire won't just mean heat, it'll mean hope. 9. Tools and repair gear. When the shelves are empty and deliveries stop, the real wealth isn't in cash or crypto, it's in capability. Tools become survival currency. An axe, a good knife, a roll of duct tape, or even a simple wrench can mean the difference between comfort and chaos. In a world where you can't just order another one, the person who knows how to fix things instantly becomes the most valuable person in the neighborhood. According to FEMA's 2024 Community Preparedness Report, more than 60% of U.S. households admit they don't own even a basic toolkit. That means when a door breaks, a pipe leaks, or a generator needs repair during a blackout, most people are stuck waiting for help that may never come. But the one person who can patch a roof, sharpen a blade, or repair a solar panel, that person doesn't just survive, they thrive. Look at what happened after the 2023 California storms. Entire towns were cut off for days, and while some waited for emergency crews, others rebuilt on their own using hand tools, tarps, and a lot of grit. Communities that had basic repair supplies recovered faster and relied less on outside aid. Exactly what FEMA calls resilience capacity. Multi-tools, duct tape, rope, and hand-powered saws don't just fix things. They restore independence. And in a long-term collapse, that's everything. You can trade repairs for food, shelter, or fuel. A sharpened axe can split wood for heat. A single screwdriver can keep your radio or generator running. Even something as simple as a sewing kit or wire can patch clothes, tents, and gear. These aren't just items, they're lifelines. And once the system breaks down, they'll be worth more than gold. So build your toolbox now, while you still can. Because when the world stops delivering, the ones who can repair, adapt, and rebuild will be the ones who truly endure. 10. Communication devices, radios, walkie-talkies. When the grid fails and your phone turns into a useless brick, one thing becomes more valuable than gold: information. FEMA and NOAA have been saying it for years. Every household in America should have at least one emergency radio. Because when the cell towers go down, the internet's gone, and emergency alerts can't reach you, that little battery-powered or hand-crank radio might be your only lifeline to the outside world. According to a 2024 FEMA Community Preparedness Briefing, fewer than 35% of households currently own an emergency radio, even though more than 90% rely solely on smartphones for alerts and communication. That's a dangerous gap. During the 2024 Midwest blackout, when power and cell service failed across 5 states, families with NOAA weather radios stayed informed while everyone else was left guessing whether the danger was over or just beginning. Walkie-talkies, CB radios, and HAM radios are more than just throwbacks from the 80s. They're survival-grade communication tools. When networks collapse, these devices still work. A small set of GMRS or FRS walkie-talkies can keep your family in contact across a neighborhood or rural property. And if you've ever heard a ham operator relaying real-time storm or evacuation updates, you know just how vital that connection can be when every second counts. Imagine being cut off during a blizzard or cyber attack, not knowing whether to shelter in place or leave. A simple radio could give you the weather alert, FEMA update, or evacuation notice that saves your life. It's not about tech, it's about awareness. So don't wait for a crisis to realize how silent the world can get without communication. Invest in a reliable hand crank or solar-powered emergency radio, extra batteries, and a set of walkie-talkies for your family. Because when the airwaves go dark, those who can still listen and speak will be the ones who survive. 11. Alcohol, coffee, and tobacco. Now, this one might surprise you, but history proves it every single time. When society breaks down, luxury and comfort items become currency. Alcohol, coffee, and tobacco might not keep you alive directly, but they can absolutely keep you trading, bartering, and staying connected when money means nothing. After Hurricane Katrina, reports from the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA showed that cigarettes and alcohol were some of the first items to disappear from shelves, right alongside bottled water and fuel. Why? Because when stress skyrockets and normal life disappears, people crave routine, comfort, and escape. That human need becomes powerful currency. During the pandemic years, the value of coffee and alcohol spiked dramatically. In 2020, Statista reported a 14% increase in alcohol sales across the U.S., and by 2024, coffee prices hit a 12-year high due to droughts in South America. Imagine trying to find a single bag of ground coffee after a supply chain collapse. That caffeine fix suddenly becomes a luxury worth trading for. In past conflicts and crises, from World War II rationing to the Balkan collapse of the 1990s, cigarettes became one of the top black market items. People traded them for food, fuel, medicine, even protection. The lesson? It's not about addiction, it's about morale. A sense of normal has real psychological value when everything else is chaos. The key is to store smart. Keep sealed bottles of liquor, even if you don't drink. Stock up on instant coffee, ground beans, filters, and maybe a small hand crank grinder. If you're comfortable, a few packs of cigarettes or nicotine alternatives can also hold surprising trade power. Because here's the truth. Survival isn't just about food and water. It's about maintaining hope and humanity when everything feels lost. In a world without comfort, the person who can offer a warm drink or a familiar taste of calm doesn't just survive, they lead.